We are joined by Ben Braymer. What up, big dog?
Oh, not too much, man. Just out here in Tacoma, enjoying a road trip and trying to get us another dub tonight. So
Let's go. Yeah, you actually are on the bump tonight, right?
yes, I am.
So this is a first for me, for us. We've never actually talked to somebody on game day, so that's kind of a big deal for us.
Uh,
Um,
Heck yeah.
so that's cool. So give me something that I could put out there right now. Like, who are you as a pitcher, physically and mentally, right now with all the experience that you've had, which we'll get to in a little bit. But like, are you right now, and what are you like on the mound between those white lines?
Yeah, I would say first and foremost a competitor. I want to go out there and just compete my absolute tail off every single day. And by the time that I leave the game and my outing is over, I have nothing left to give because I've left it all out there. So I would say the first thing is that just an absolute fierce competitor. Um, and then as far as the style of pitching and stuff like that goes, I think I'm a fastball command first guy. I think if you look at the majority of my outings and follow whether they've been successful or not, a lot of that depends on fastball command, in and out, up and down, and then throwing the breaking ball in there for swings and misses and effect and change up as well. So, competitor first and foremost, and then fastball command, breaking ball dominant, change up to keep guys honest. So,
Yeah, very change of pace, I would say too. I was looking at some of your savant numbers, 90 around 90 fastball, and then you have that 76 curve, and then around 80 changeup. Like, do you just wake up and feel have the feeling for the fastball? Like, how do you know when you have it?
I,
Like, you just said you rely on it quite a bit, right? So like, when do you kind of
right.
figure out when you have that?
I wish I woke up and had it every single day. That would make my life a lot easier.
Right.
No, I think, I think for me, there's probably two different variants of it. There's when my fastball is at its best, not only am I commanding it, but it's got good riding life throughout the zone. Um, Now, to have both of those on the same day is, I don't want to say rare, but that happens less frequently than you would think. So, on a day when I have fastball command, but maybe not the riding life, that's super important to, be able to command it in and out, glove side, arm side, up, down, hit all quadrants. On the days whenever it has riding life, but maybe I don't have the best command, there's more room for error with it, but it's still important to locate it at least in the zones of where I'm
Hmm.
trying to get it. And it's funny about the baseball savant, or my big league averages are way down from what they probably are this year. For whatever
Yeah.
reason, I had like bouts of dead arm. My mechanics got out of whack, and so when I actually pitched in the big leagues, my stuff was, I don't want to say significantly down, but it was probably 2 to 3 miles an hour, 4 miles an hour low across the board for every pitch than what it currently is right now. So,
Okay.
um, having my stuff kind of getting back to what it was a few years ago has helped me out as well.
That's makes a huge difference, right? Like, I
No doubt.
somebody was saying like the biggest difference for a hitter for a fastball is like 90 to 92, and then like that 93 to 95 jump, like that 1 or 2 miles per hour in that window, which you're sitting at, like you kind of just mentioned, does make a
Right.
huge difference.
It does that coupled with, good command of it, because any fastball thrown on the inner half is going to appear harder than it would be if it's thrown on the outer half, so it makes a big difference.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, we just got to know you a little bit about as a pitcher, as a player, but we got to talk about this Twitter profile. It doesn't look like you go on much, but you're on there. But your Twitter account right now, your profile says practice gratitude daily,
Yep.
current free agent, former Washington National. I feel like we got to update this because you're not a free agent anymore.
That
You're now a
is
friend of the
correct.
BSB pod, so you might want to add that in there. But part of the Rockies organization should definitely be on there too. So we got to
Heck
update
yeah.
that. If you're going to be a part of the Rockies organization, we got to change that, man.
I'll go change that today.
All right, we're going to put that out there right now.
Promise.
Um, But I do love that first part, honestly. That practice
Yeah.
gratitude daily. That's a huge part of kind of like who I am and what I try to instill into my kids, and then I'm in education and real life beyond this. So like doing that with my students and stuff. But how do you kind of practice that gratitude?
I think for me individually, it's about perspective. And a easy way to describe how I practice it would be to pick one thing a day that you're grateful for, that you're looking forward to. So this morning I woke up and I was excited to go down the street and grab a coffee and breakfast, and like that's something I'm grateful for, you know. So just like
Hmm.
acknowledgement and acknowledging little things like that throughout your day might seem really simple and almost silly to some, but when you continue to tack those on, it just creates a different type of energy within yourself and a different type of energy that you protrude to others as well.
Yeah.
You become more of like an energy giver as opposed to an energy taker, in my opinion. So that's kind of how I try and go about it. And two, like it's all about perspective. I feel like I really try to, the last like year and a half, 2 years, begin practicing that because the COVID season and then the 2021 season as a whole, I think for most people were probably very difficult just in various like different lifestyle ways. You know, travel was weird, scheduling was kind of weird. Just it was a bizarre time. And then for me individually, it was difficult as well on the field and some things off the field. And so I started to lean into this: practice gratitude daily. Look for things that you're thankful for. This is a blessing. You know, I get to do this. I don't have to do this. Just kind of had a whole like attitude change, and especially an attitude change within myself. So, um, picking a few things here and there every single day that I'm looking forward to, that I'm grateful for, is a great way for me to for it to be a reminder.
Yeah. I love hearing that. I say it often, but like you guys are also people. Like we're talking
Right.
baseball. You are a baseball player. We're here having this because you're a baseball player, but you're also a human. You're trying to make you yourself and everybody else around you a little bit better. And I'm always curious of how people do that. And so like the gratitude piece is sounds so simple, but it's so hard for just humans to give themselves that space to actually be thankful for what they have.
No
I don't
doubt.
know don't know where that came from, but like I feel like that's changing a lot since COVID, kind of like what you said, but like actually being
Yeah.
aware and thankful for what you have, and it's okay to be happy about that. And I don't know where that
Yeah.
got lost a long time ago, but anyway,
And
let's yeah, go ahead.
ba- baseball is such a game that's like predicated on failure as well. So I think because of that,
Right.
there there can be a lot of negative energy within the game, maybe within a clubhouse or on the field, whatever, and that can make it harder to practice that type of gratitude or to be an energy
Hmm.
giver in certain instances. And um, when I decided I wanted to continue playing and give it another go, a big reason was because I felt like I had a lot of energy to give and impact to give to a clubhouse, no matter where it was at. And that's a huge goal of mine, is to be somebody who can radiate that type of positivity. Not necessarily like, don't get me wrong, I'm not necessarily a bubbly dude at all, but but I want those around me to know that, like, hey, Ben's he's gonna have a good mindset about this. He's gonna have a good energy. He's gonna have good perspective. Like, if I need something, I know I can go to him and get honesty and good perspective on everything, good attitudes. So that was
Yeah.
huge for me.
Yeah, and that's huge that you're willing to do that, because I don't feel like everybody's necessarily willing to do that. I feel like most people are, especially in a clubhouse. Like you hear people willing to pick brains and being asked being picked like on. Because I was listening to a podcast today, Baseball is Dead. Carabas was interviewing David Ortiz, and like if you can talk to anybody about hitting, it's David Ortiz, right? But
Right.
for whatever reason, David Ortiz just doesn't feel like he should go into a locker room, like in Boston in particular, and share his depth of knowledge. But then it's like it was Dallas Braden was on there like, yo, dude, get in there and just share your knowledge. It's completely okay to put it out there because you're David Ortiz and people are going to trust you and people see you as that guy. So it's completely okay to put that out there. So the fact that you're seeing that now is it's cool. Like David Ortiz is, way beyond his years of playing, but you're all up in it. Like, all right, I can do it on the mound. I'm still fighting for that major league taste again, but what can I do to help those others around me a little bit better? So
Right.
I love hearing that. That's cool.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, that's cool. All right, so let's get baseball. Enough of that philosophy stuff. Let's get into the nitty gritty, right? So it's doing the journey, doing the rundown here, and you have quite a beginning journey. Back in 2016, you were drafted in the 18th round by the Nationals out of Auburn, but we're gonna go before that. LSU-Eunice,
Eunice.
Eunice,
Eunice.
Eunice. That wasn't
Yeah.
even close. Eunice,
It's
the
okay.
JUCO down there. Spent 2 years doing that. I gotta know though, does that single season strikeout record still hold up?
It
Do
does.
you know? Does it? Nice.
Yeah, it does. My family keeps tabs on it here and there to see if anybody has gotten close or broken it, and it's still there. So
Yeah. It's like, do you have like a trophy? Did they give you a ball or like a little gold glove like they give to little leaguers?
I don't think so. No, I don't have
No,
anything. It's just the name in the book for right now.
just the name in the book. I love that.
Yeah,
Yeah, you had 138 strikeouts. I forgot to write the innings, but you definitely had more strikeouts than innings pitched.
94. I think it's 94 and a
There you
third or
go.
94 and 2/3 innings.
Okay.
That
Yeah,
was
so
a
you were
memorable season, so I remember a lot of stuff about it.
Yeah, that's a lot of innings. Is that normal? I don't really see that very
um,
much in college baseball arms, especially
right.
JUCO.
I I don't know, honestly. I mean, it felt normal. I would say that you only get the type of innings if you're on a good team and a team that's able to play a lot of games. And
Hmm.
fortunately, I was on a really good team that year. We ended up winning the national championship, and I was able to pitch deep into some games. So it was kind of like a perfect storm of events led to that. So
Yeah, yeah, the World Series win. Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. What was that run like? So it sounds like you were on a pretty stacked squad. I didn't do my due
oh yeah,
diligence and see like if there was anybody else on that team. But it was in 2015. You won the World Series. You also won the World Series Most Valuable Pitcher during that time. What was that all about?
that
Like, just
was
kind of walk that.
yeah. So that was our team was absolutely loaded. I want to say just from like a college talent standpoint, I want to say we had probably upwards of like 20 to 25 guys, both freshmen and sophomores that season, who moved on to play at the 4-year level, and
Oh
the
wow.
majority of those guys probably were at the D1 level as well. So just tons of talent. And more than the talent, though, we were so close as a group. And junior college is the way the schedule runs is a little different than 4-year, because we're able to have a full fall season, and then you start practice in the spring earlier. So we just had already spent a ton
Hmm.
of time together. We're a really close team. Really started to click at the end of the season, and we win our regional, get a bid to the JUCO World Series in Enid, Oklahoma, and go there. And we win our first 2 games, I think, and then we lost our third, so we had to come out of the losers bracket. Ended up winning a game in 14 innings, and
Oh
then
wow.
so that would have been like I guess the quarterfinal game maybe, because we would have had to beat the next team twice to win it all. So and then in the semifinal game, we ended up beating Western Oklahoma State in like 10 or 11, 12 innings, like another game that was just crazy bonkers. And came back from like an 8-run deficit, just fighting tooth and nail, like, passing the torch one guy to the next. We had guys coming out of the bullpen who weren't necessarily major contributors for us that year, but stepped up in spots when they needed to and were being counted on. And those are the
Hmm.
type of guys that deserve to succeed. They just grinded all year, continued to put the work in. continue to be great teammates, even though they may not have necessarily gotten consistent opportunities throughout the season. And it's one of the beautiful things about baseball is like more times than not, the game's going to repay you if you continue to put in your work, and respect your teammates and do the right things. And we had guys step up who were in that type of position and ended up just absolutely steamrolling them the next game, like 14 or 16-1 or something. It was crazy. But so that was just an absolutely incredible experience. And the national championship victory is obviously the cherry on top for my time in junior college. But even if we wouldn't have won that, it would have still been the absolute best decision I could have made, going to that program and playing for Coach Willis and Alan Orgain and Roberto Vaz, and being a part of that clubhouse and that program and community and school was incredible. Just top-notch people. As good as the baseball program is, they do an even better job of developing men and putting guys out into the real world who are going to be, great people, great leaders, great husbands, fathers, just, just all around. They give you that type of foundation to move forward and do good things, because they instill it in you throughout practice and throughout all the grinding and working. I wouldn't change a thing about it. I'd go back and do it again if I could, honestly.
Yeah, especially when you're doing it with 25 of your best friends, or probably JUCO, 40 of your best friends, like doing it together. Right. And that JUCO feeling, you probably had that small sense of community, that small school vibe around it, and everybody being part of that. And Eunice is Eunice. Yeah. It's probably a fairly small town, right?
Yeah, it is.
So you probably had that whole community going all in on you. But you mentioned his name, Jeff Willis. Just got inducted to the NJCAA Hall of Fame. You just spoke highly of him. I think he's going into his 22nd year, it looks like. I don't know how old that article is. Down there, what did he kind of mean to you as a baseball player, and like how did he kind of get you set up for that time in Auburn, next stop, so to speak?
Yeah, Coach Willis means everything. I mean, I look at him as like an adult father of mine. Like, obviously he didn't raise me when I was a kid, but when I get to college and I'm not under my parents' roof anymore, he and Coach O were like that father figure. And even though it may not have always been like I don't say that as like a mushy term, but like they were, everything that I needed, everything that I would say everybody else needed too. They led by example, for one. Just both incredible men, live their lives in the right way, do the right things, even when it's not easy or comfortable. And then also the lessons and the words that they teach us and tell us every single day, just made such a huge impact on me. When I think about what we were talking about earlier, practicing gratitude daily, a big part of that is because the foundation for me to understand what that is and how to do that was laid when I was at LSU-E. You get to come here, you get to do this, you get to do that. You don't have to do any of it. So when you're here, you choose to be here, and you need to approach everything in life that way, because it's a blessing. Not one single thing here is guaranteed, not one. And, lessons like that, words like that, all that was instilled in me at home, but especially at that program as well. Feel like I like to describe it like this, like when I grew up in my parents' house, like they laid all the same foundation, right? But I'm a kid. I've been at home, they drive me to school, or I take the bus to school. I come home. It's like I'm in this, like a safe environment. And then going to college, it's the first time that, I'm able to, anybody, I guess, is able to kind of spread out and do their own thing. So I had to choose whether or not I was going to adopt those principles and those teachings and all that as my own, or what. And, I was fortunate to come from a good upbringing and step into a program like that was just top notch and preaching all the same things, and it made it pretty easy. And obviously, without Coach Willis and Coach Orgain, that's, I don't know where that program would be, where the school would be or anything, but those guys, those men leave it in such good hands and just do such a good job. So owe a lot to them. Yeah,
That's awesome.
I don't think that I would be here at this point in my career if it weren't for them. So
Yeah, that's huge. And I see it all the time. Like having that outside influence, that mentor, so to speak, does pay huge, especially for whether you know it or not, whether that kids need it. Like you don't know if you need it. Like you probably, I know me, my personal experience, like I got this, but like I would have loved to have somebody over my shoulder helping me out that freshman, sophomore year of college. Cause I mean, it didn't go well. But like
yeah,
I had to kind of learn that stuff on my own and try to figure out, all right, where is this going to go? And then having that from you, from such a good guy who also practices it himself, it's got to be huge for all those 18, 19-year-olds down there. That's cool.
oh, no doubt. Yeah, it really is a special place, and he'd probably be the first to tell you. He definitely would be the first to tell you that the recognition that he's begun getting is, while he's the one being recognized, it's a group effort, but he deserves every single bit of it, and I know that there's more to come as well. So, just great people down there, great community, and as awesome as they were, our teammates were incredible as well. So just overall, and just such a blessing to have experienced that.
Yeah. So then obviously that sets you up for Auburn. So you went to Auburn for the next 2 years. How did that process getting recruited again, I guess, so to speak, from JUCO to Auburn kind of go for you? Because you said there's 25 of you that went somewhere. So a lot of eyes on that program. How did you end up at
Yep.
Auburn?
So I started to get some recruiting interest that summer throughout summer ball. Obviously you go play summer ball and you're part of a team with guys from all over the place. And so some of those schools started to contact me and then go back to campus that fall, and we have a fall season, and Coach Willis always puts on a sophomore showcase for his guys. So sophomore showcase is like probably, I don't know, second week of fall or something, and most of the in-state schools show up. A lot of area scouts will show up, and I had a good day that day and started to receive a lot of interest. Had a lot of opportunities, and it kind of came down to Auburn and UCF for me. I was either going to go to one of those two schools, and I visited Auburn, and it was just a no-brainer for me. I always wanted to pitch in the SEC and have an opportunity to compete at that level. And when they gave me the opportunity to do that, it was a no-brainer. So fell in love with the place, and my time there was incredible. I was also a guy in high school too. Part of the reason I went junior college route is because I didn't have much baseball experience. I always played because my friends did, but I never did like travel ball or anything like that. Never really did much lessons or whatever. I actually did more hitting lessons growing up than pitching lessons, which is funny because I'm not a hitter. But so I go JUCO because I don't have much experience. I don't have much feel for the game. Don't have much feel for pitching specifically, but the ability was there. So being able to accrue a lot of innings at the junior college level in the fall season, the spring season, and then summer ball really helped me out a lot. So I think I was relatively unknown. Even when I was being recruited out of Eunice, I think it was like there was still some skepticism there because they're like, well, where was this guy in high school? Like, where's all this coming from? I was just a late bloomer. So I like to say when Auburn came down to watch me in person, Auburn was there, LSU was there, Texas A&M was there, and Ole Miss was there. And the only school I heard from after that was Auburn. So it was a, really easy decision for me.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, and being all up in SEC country, growing up in Baton Rouge, like I'm sure that was, definitely made that decision even easier. Just
No doubt.
because
It's
SEC is just built different, right?
right. It just means more, right?
Yeah, like everything all across the board.
I'm just kidding. It's a obviously a great conference, and I've always been a huge fan of the conference. I just big college sports guy. I really enjoy the college football and all those rivalries. But yeah, like you're saying, growing up in that type of environment, and especially in Baton Rouge, right on the heels of LSU's campus, it was no brainer.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, college sports SEC. So, are you watching the CWS that begins today? Like, do you have a horse in the race? Are you rooting for anybody? Oh, there he is. He came
Oh,
back. So,
there.
yeah.
Whoops,
So
sorry.
CWS. Oh, good. CWS. Are you rooting for anybody in particular? Are you following along?
Yeah, I'll watch here and there, if I can, but I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not entirely sure who all is in the field.
The SEC is heavy. So Florida, LSU, and Tennessee. Do you have any
LSU,
hard?
yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any hard feelings towards those three teams? Like,
I used to have um, hard feelings towards LSU because they never offered me out of junior college,
right?
and I didn't understand why. Like part of the reason I went there is because they encouraged me to, so they could continue to watch me and so I could get the innings.
Ah,
And never got the opportunity, but I love that school. Grew up rooting for them in all sports. I have, my parents went there. I have a sibling that went there, so there's no hard feelings.
okay.
So yeah, I would love to see LSU bring it home. To be honest,
Dang. I was hoping you'd give me a headline grab there. Like, give me something to put out there. No,
nah,
just playing.
I, it'd
So
be
yeah,
cool to see them bring it back for sure.
yeah, LSU is stacked this year.
Yeah.
Then you got Oral Roberts, TCU, Virginia, and Wake Forest, who has some
Although I'm not gonna lie, it'd be cool to see a Cinderella story too, like Oral
right.
Roberts come in there and just snag the trophy. That'd be sick.
It would be sick, especially
Yeah.
like their super regional against Oregon to get there. Like it would be pretty sweet. I
Yeah.
think I'm definitely going for the Cinderella story. I grew up in Omaha, and so I grew up in Nebraska and went to Omaha, and we'd always go to the CWS. That was always like our highlight of the summer. We'd play in a wood bat tournament in a suburb around Omaha. We'd do that, and then at night we go to the baseball games. We do that, and it was like a week-long thing.
Heck yeah.
It was so much fun, and so we would root on the little guys. Became an LSU fan one time because I didn't want to wait in line. So it was general admission. Didn't want to wait in line, so me and like three or four other guys just started going LSU, LSU, and all the LSU fans at the front of the general admission line were like, "Yo, get in here!" And so we were like the first in line, first in the house. We're able to sit front row, and that's when Jamarcus Russell was playing right field for him. I just remember that clear as day.
That's
Kind of,
awesome.
it was just good moments, good memories all across the board.
That's awesome. I've always wanted to go, never had the opportunity. So I think one day, whenever I'm done playing and I have the time to go up there, I'm
You have
definitely
to.
making it.
You
I
have
hear it's
to.
incredible.
Yeah, especially as an adult too. Like it's a different game. Like you have an entire it's like a mile radius of just party. It's insane. It's so much fun. And like whether you participate or not, the vibe, the energy, everything around not Rosenblatt anymore, TD Ameritrade,
Right.
it's just incredible. It's Omaha puts out for those 2 weeks. It's fun. And
That's
Omaha's
awesome.
it's a nice little town out there. So if you do get a chance, definitely hit up. Definitely a baseball bucket list. You
No
got to get
doubt.
out
I
there.
absolutely will. One of my best friends, Jackson Reeds, got married in Omaha this past fall. So
Okay.
I was there, and it was like 20 degrees the whole weekend. So I didn't really explore, but I saw the stadium from afar. So that's the closest I've been, but hopefully I'll be back at some point.
Yeah, an off-season wedding in Omaha is that's gonna be cold,
It was freezing.
and it's a different kind of cold, man. That wind hits you a little bit different.
Yeah, we after the wedding was over, we went out, and like the entire bridal party was all hanging out together, and the hotel we were staying at was only like literally, I'm not kidding, it was like a 2.5 3 minute walk to the bar that we were at.
Mhm.
and it was so cold that we Ubered.
Yeah, you
Like,
guys aren't built for that.
bought an Uber for like literally 0.15 miles. So yeah.
I understand it. I understand it, especially if you're not used to that kind of stuff. It will creep up on you.
Oh yeah.
That's
I've
awesome.
got thin blood, so I was miserable.
Yeah, I could tell another story, but we'll get maybe another time. But so the you get drafted in 2016 with the Nationals, come out of Auburn, go straight to short season ball. I always like this question because you're kind of one of the first ones that we've talked to that's experienced short season ball, not with the Rockies. So the Rockies always had that affiliate down in Grand Junction, and they were all over here in the Northwest. And 8, 10 mile, 10-hour bus rides through the mountains,
Right.
the grind and stuff. But I just complete ignorant. I believe the Gulf Coast League, I just think it's different. Like I don't feel like you have those long bus rides
No.
through the mountains. You don't have all that going down there. But like what was that difference between, I mean, you're at JUCO, you're at SEC, and now you're all of a sudden you're in short season ball. Like what was kind of that big professional switch that year for you?
I think first and foremost, it was kind of like a little bit of a shock because, like you were saying, I'm coming from a program that, our last series of the year was against Vanderbilt, right? And we're in Nashville playing Vandy, and, a month later I'm in rookie ball and with a bunch of, young guys and a bunch of guys similar to myself as well, just draft just ended. And it was different for sure. I don't think I anticipated. I think just because it was unknown, I was naive and was like, "Oh, I'm getting drafted. Like I'm gonna go and play, and it's gonna be really similar to where I just came from." And that wasn't the case. It wasn't bad at all. I mean, I would never want to go back to rookie ball, but
We hear that a lot. Yep, we hear that a
yeah,
lot.
but it was kind of like Groundhog Day every day. You show up to the field at early in the morning, especially in Florida because it's so hot. We were having like probably 7:30, 8 a.m. stretch every day, and then you practice and you play your games in front of no fans. That was another thing. Most of the innings were pretty scripted as well, which was I don't want to say new, but that was different too. We worked the piggyback system a lot. So like overall experience though, it was solid. I mean, I had a good group of guys down there. Two of my best friends in the world I met, that summer, and we had a great time together. The bus trips, we didn't have any 10-hour trips. Everybody was relatively close. All the facilities, I mean, were relatively close. So I think the longest one was like to Port St. Lucie, and that was like 2.5 hours. And that was probably like every other week, every third week or something like that. And, at that point in time too, we hadn't adopted this new schedule where every Monday was off. And so every fourth day was off. So it was like every fourth,
Yeah.
after like a month, everybody was living for that fourth day. Like, oh yeah, we have an off day, we can go to the beach, do whatever. But rookie ball was that first summer was a good time. I actually ended up tearing my groin like the last month of the season, so I missed out on the last month, handful of innings.
Right.
But other than that, good experience.
Yeah, you probably learned some stuff about you and about what it
Yeah.
means to be a professional. I feel like it's like chews up and spits out certain players. Like some kids, like people aren't ready. Like especially when you have these high school draftees coming in, like 17, 18-year-olds doing it as you've experienced some things, right? Going JUCO Auburn and like you've had your trials and tribulations as a
Right.
22-year-old, but you guys are trying to navigate all that together. I'm sure you saw a lot of like, all right, the just the mentality, I guess, the mental piece, the mental side coming out of it. Like
Right.
stride waiting for that fourth day for some players might be a little bit different than all right, I get a fourth day to work on something or moving on to something else.
Yeah, and I think too, like perspective comes into that as well.
Right.
In 2016, Ben at that point in time didn't have the same type of perspective that I do now, but I still knew and acknowledged the opportunity that I had in front of me. So even though I may have been upset that I was in rookie ball and not necessarily in short season with the rest of the college guys, I was still thankful to be there and have an opportunity. And I think that a lot of times whenever you talk to guys who are in rookie ball, or maybe they didn't get out of rookie ball or whatever, you see it a lot with rookie ball and extended spring training.
Mm-hmm.
It's an opportunity, and it can really go one of two ways, and a lot of that depends on how you approach it mentally. And I was lucky to be with a group of guys who all approached it the same way, who were all thankful to be there, didn't necessarily want to be there, but thankful to be there and going to just, absolutely bust your ass every day and have fun too. And so that was important, and that was a blessing. Absolutely. But yeah, it can, if you don't approach it the right way, it can be an absolute grind because it's hot. There's no fans, there's really no adrenaline either, which can be tough. So
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, did that this is a terrible segue, but I'm going for it. So did that not playing in front of no fans set you up for that 2020 debut? See what I did there? So
yeah,
you got your debut. You're a major leaguer. You had that taste in 2020. I
yep.
was watching some of your highlights last night, and again, that intro kind of came from that. But was that weird? Like you're dreaming of this
Oh yeah.
moment all your entire life, and then you finally get it, and it's induced sound over the stereo with cheers, fans, and that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, the artificial noise was so bizarre. Like, I don't even know how they created that. My my mind's not creative in ways like that. So touche to whoever did it, but
right,
that was bizarre for sure. From my perspective, I felt like, I mean, it was still the big leagues. Like I was still absolutely amped every single day.
right,
Still had all the same type of jitters. Uh, but I do think that there was maybe a little bit of a calming effect when you walk out there and you're like, okay, it's just this team versus that team.
right.
It kind of like, for me at least, it like simplified it, even though it didn't need to be simplified. It kind of just like, hey, at the core, this is still the same game you've been playing for so long.
Right.
So I think the no fans made that more like present. And it definitely stinks to not run out to a stadium full and whatnot, and to after the game not be able to hug my parents and siblings and see my friends. But I still got to live out a dream in that point in time. I feel worse for my family who weren't able to be there, because even though it's me on the field, it's a group effort.
Yep.
And I definitely would not have been able to experience that. Definitely would not have been able to be there if it weren't for them and their support, especially in such a weird time. So I still feel bad that they weren't able to be there, and we still talk about it sometimes, especially when I see friends or people debuting nowadays, and
Yeah.
they get to see their loved ones and friends after the game, and we're like, damn, man, like it's more motivation to get back. It'll feel like
Right.
it'll honestly feel like a debut all over again, no doubt.
Yeah, it'll have to. Yeah, because I mean, Coco Montez, like, he had his debut, and they were interviewing his mom in the stands, like they normally do. Like you deserve that for your grind. Like your parents deserve that. Like you're only here. You're only as strong as your support system. And I
Right.
mean, you're still here, and it sounds like you've had a very solid support system. So being able to celebrate that moment and with those people is huge. So definitely is a little bit of a motivator for you, right? A little
Yeah,
bit of a extra push when you wake up in the morning.
no doubt. It's absolutely added fuel. And you know, I think I'll be fine if it were to never happen, but I really, really want that for my family and friends more than myself.
Yeah. And
So
yeah, and I think that speaks to about who you are. Going back to our original conversation, like who you are now, and just like what kind of person you are. I think that you're speaking a lot of. You're letting us know who you are, who Ben Braymer is. So that's cool. Uh,
Appreciate that.
so what was it like pitching to Kurt Suzuki in that first game? Like that's crazy. Like I loved him. I was kind of an A's fan, Rockies fan, kind of growing up. Like A's were always number one or number two. So Kurt Suzuki kind of has like he's that grinder. He's always that guy that's always there, but never seems to get the accolades for how long and how great he was as a
Yeah,
major leaguer. But I can only imagine like throwing to somebody like Kurt. Like, how
I'm gonna
sweet
be
was that?
honest. It was awesome. I felt invincible up there because in my head I'm thinking, I have a freaking. I think at that point in time, I don't know. Kurt had probably been playing for. He probably had at least like 8 or 9, maybe even 10 full years of service time at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So in my head, I'm on the mound. I'm like, this dude's been catching for so long. You know how many arms he's caught? You know how many different hitters he's seen? Like whatever he throws down, I'm rocking with it and we're gonna dominate. Like
Yeah,
seriously, I
that's
felt like
awesome.
I felt like we were invincible. Felt like I was because he was gonna just carry me through, guide me through. And but I really enjoyed throwing him all the time. Kind of like I was saying earlier, my stuff was a little down that year. And I remember telling him that, like, hey, man, like, I don't have the same zip on the fastball that I've been used to having. I don't have the same type of break on the breaking ball that I'm used to having. So my approach has kind of been to just mix it up.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, all right, sounds good. And that's what we rocked with every time. So
That's awesome.
he was awesome. He's an incredible teammate, too, just for a guy that's so accomplished and has that type of tenure to be so welcoming and present for a younger guy like myself was really cool. I'll always remember him for that more so than for being the catcher. So
Right.
that was really cool.
Yeah, being able to have that moment with him, especially
Yeah,
just of that caliber, like it just adds that extra piece to it.
no doubt.
And then I would be remiss if I didn't ask you, what was Juan Soto like as a 21-year-old? Like as you're seeing that man, that kid, I guess, like take BP, play baseball. What was that like? Like,
So that was incredible. I'm pretty sure Juan's first summer in the States was the summer I got drafted. And we had we spent, you know, 16, 17, 18 before he skyrocketed to the big leagues. We spent a lot of that time together and watching him from a very young age. I remember one time specifically in 2016 GCL game. He's probably 16 or 17 at that point in time. Left-handed hitter, obviously, and he takes an outside fastball and just crushes it to the left center gap. And I remember thinking in my head, like, especially in rookie ball, you see a bunch of guys pulling off, just trying to hit homers. Like they don't really know themselves as a player, right? And I remember watching him do that. Just that was the first time I noticed it. And then just watching it time after time again, and I'm saying, man, this guy is like mature at the plate beyond his years. And I mean, now you see him do that. He's gotten older. He's gotten stronger. He's filled out into his body more, and now those gabbers are homers.
yeah.
But now watching him was incredible, and he was always mature beyond his years, not only on the field but off the field as well.
Mm-hmm.
Just a great guy to be around. Very nice. Always taking care of those around him, especially the younger Latin guys. Like making sure that everyone's taken care of. Has a desire to get to know his teammates, and just an overall good guy. Pleasure to be around. Good teammate.
That's awesome.
Obviously, incredible player too.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Putting it all together. Did he
Yeah.
always have the shuffle in 16, 17 when you're watching him? Did he always have that shuffle?
I
No.
don't think so.
That kind
I can't
of he grew
remember
into
that.
that one. That's awesome. I didn't even think about you guys playing together in the minors. I just
Yeah.
that's cool. Yeah, you kind of grew up with them in a sense.
Yeah. That was cool.
Yeah, that is sweet. So you had that moment, you had that taste. Spent a few more years with the Nationals affiliate, some Rockies connection. Like you played for Fresno, that AAA affiliate for the
Yep.
Nationals in 2019. Um, right now that's the single A affiliate or the low A affiliate of the Rockies.
Right.
How cool is Chicansey Park?
Oh, I liked it a lot. Yeah, it was a cool place to play and show up to every day for sure.
Yeah, we're pretty close with some of the media guys up there. I don't know if they were there when you were, but Stephen Rice, I think his dad
Yeah,
might have
yeah,
been called Stephen Rice. His dad might have been there. He's a family of the pod. We talked to him quite a bit. Johnny Bravo, he's the media relations. I think he came in 2020. But just good people down in Fresno,
yeah.
especially at that park.
Steven was there when I was there.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I liked all the guys there. Everybody with Fresno was good to me.
Yeah.
So
Good organization up there.
yeah,
And then so this year, you played in indie ball. You're in indie ball for about a month. You're dominating. It's pretty insane stats there. 2-0 record, 116 ERA in those 4 starts. About 20 innings, 23 strikeouts, those 23.1 innings. So how did that work? So you kind of mentioned it earlier, like when you decided to make this for a final ride. So like, was this past off season like, I don't know what I want to do, let's try this indie ball, let's play for the Rockers, like kind of walk us through these like last 2-3 months of
okay,
your baseball
yeah.
career.
So I'll actually rewind it a little further than that.
All right.
So when I got released by the Nationals at last summer, I was a little bit banged up. I had come into camp that year with a pretty bad sprained ankle, but didn't say anything. Tried to fight through it. I mean, obviously the year before I had been DFA'd, cleared waivers, outrighted. So like I knew I was kind of walking like a fine line, right?
Mm-hmm.
So coming to camp that year, not healthy, ended up making the AAA team, but just things never really clicked. Didn't perform well when I did get an opportunity, and ultimately got released. So after I got released, I didn't hear from any other affiliate teams. I had only heard from indie ball teams, and I drive home and ultimately decided not to play the rest of the year. It was like, I need to get healthy and
Okay.
quite frankly figure out if I still want to play. Do I love the game enough? Do I love everything that comes with it? I don't have to love everything that comes with it, but am I willing to take on that type of challenge?
Right.
And at that point in time, I wasn't sure. So I actually ended up taking a full-time job, like off the field, like normal job. Thought I was done. I was doing sales and marketing for a company called Playfly Sports on behalf of Louisiana High School Athletic Association.
Okay.
And did that for September until like February. And early on throughout that, I got the itch to, give it another go. But, some factors came into play, ended up working a little bit longer than I probably wanted to, just because I needed to, and I enjoyed my time with the people there as well. So it was fine, but got healthy, and my confidence started to go up too once my ankle healed. I was like, you know what, I feel better.
Yeah.
Like I can run again, I can cut. I started to lose some of that weight that I'd put on throughout that injury, and was like, man, I'm gonna do this, but I need to be calculated about it. Like I need to really be smart and give this a go. So come like February, I quit my job and started to train full time. I knew that indie ball would likely be my only opportunity, especially coming off the heels of being released and being injured. And I mean, you're only as good as like your last sample size, right? And I was terrible that summer. But the ironic part is that my stuff started to come back.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, the makings of this are there if I want it.
Yeah.
And I wanted it, man. Like I was like, I still have effort left to give. I feel like I can still be impactful within the game. And I wouldn't have done it if I didn't think that I could still compete at the highest level either.
Right.
And I still feel very convicted about that. And I know for a fact that I'm convicted about the other things as well. So I ended up, signing with High Point, and had an incredible experience there. Great people over there. and it kind of allowed me to, get innings, showcase my health, showcase that my stuff was starting to come back, that I could still compete, that I could still throw strikes with all my pitches. Fortunately, things went well, and Rockies came calling, and here I am. So yeah, the indie ball experience was awesome, though. I think that I have a lot of respect for everybody that's over there, because you have to want to be there.
Yeah.
You have to love the game. You have to want to be there. You have to be fired up, and I mean, that's how it should be everywhere. But indie ball, there's not much pay. The food situation is way different. A lot of times the living situation is way different. And just, to sum it up, the odds are kind of relatively stacked against you, right? And so the guys that are there, like, you have to really be, one, dedicated to yourself, but two, dedicated to the game and whatever your convictions are.
Yeah.
And we had a good group of guys over there, a lot of guys with the same type of mindset. And I'm super thankful for going over there. Jamie Keefe and Frank Viola were incredible. So good squad.
Yeah. And speaking of that indie ball, like it's like we talked to Dugan Darnell, like he's our guy, like he's our favorite. He was our first interview, and he played indie ball up here in Michigan at the Jimmy John Stadium. It's like a little 4-team league. Played at the same stadium. Each team is like almost like a doubleheader. They switch every night, and that's when he's like, "All right, I'm going to try this kind of." In a sense, the same kind of way. I'm going to put myself out there. I didn't get drafted, but I'm going to go play indie ball. I know something's there, and here he is. He's in Hartford right now and trying to get that call up signed as a free agent. So like that indie ball, it's part of the grind, right? I don't think you, and I'm putting this in your words, and please tell me to stop talking if I am wrong, but like if you didn't have that fire, but you still did indie ball, you're probably aren't here right now. Like there's got to be some kind of sense of that want and drive to go to indie ball for that, so to speak, last chance, last drive to get to this contract that you're on now. Like there had to like I don't know if that happens if you don't have that passion, that drive there.
Right. No doubt. I mean, I think for sure, like, when I went there, I knew that there was a good chance that I may never get back to affiliated ball. But I was so convicted in my reasons for wanting to play and for wanting to go there that it didn't matter to me. Obviously, like I told you earlier, like I still felt going into it, I felt very convicted about my ability to compete at any level. But my reasons for going were so strong and so true and like pure to me that it didn't matter. It's like, I know I'm doing the right thing no matter how this turns out.
Yeah.
And I think that, now being on the other side of the fence again and affiliate ball, I think that has helped me out and will continue to help me out, because I know that, my setting's different. The realities here might be a little bit different. But my reasons for continuing to play are still the same, even though my setting may be different. And that's huge. I think that it allows me to be even more confident in myself and more convicted in who I am, on and off the field. But especially on the field, because I'm like, my reasons are right. And in my mind and in my heart, they're right. And, it'll happen how it's supposed to, no matter what. But I think that that's a huge plus for, I would like to say all indie ball guys, but definitely for me.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, exactly. Like, do you ever think if you only knew what you knew now at 20, like how things could have been different? Just that wisdom that we all learn with all of these experiences that we have. It just makes us who we are a little bit better. As long as we're trying to get better every single day, and
Right.
whatever that is, it will take us far. All right, so we always like to end this with fun questions. So I have 2 or 3 questions for you that we'll end the pod with, and I'll let you catch that bus. And so, first question is, favorite place to vacation at?
Ooh,
What's your go-to spot?
beach.
Just any beach? Any specific beach?
30A, so like the Orange Beach area would be one.
Okay.
And then like the Destin seaside area, that's probably my top.
I've heard a
Hadn't been
lot of
there.
Destin. I think I have a friend who goes to Destin quite a bit.
Yeah, I hadn't been there in a long time, but our family used to try and go there like every year, every other year when we could, and I have great memories from there, and can't wait to go back one day. So that would be number one.
Are you the kid out there with the shovel digging the giant hole, or are
Oh,
you
100%,
Hey, look, Mom, look how big
100%.
this hole is,
Yeah,
and try to fill it
we
up
used
there.
we used to dig like trenches on the beach and stuff, and when we were a kid, like
Yep.
dig hot tubs and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
So
I
yeah,
mean, you don't have a beach experience as a kid if you're not digging holes. Like my kids
right.
do it now. Like they're 3 and 5, and they're just digging as much as they can. Oh no, the water's getting in it, and it's like, sorry guys, got to dig it deeper, dig it
Yeah.
farther back. Um, what is your so it's game day for you? Do you have a go-to game day meal that you pitching day meal that you kind of go to, or just
I try and like load up on as much protein as I can. A lot of times that'll come in the form of a Chipotle bowl,
there you go?
but not really. I used to be super like superstitious to an extent, like always wanted to eat the same, types of things and whatnot. But as I've gotten older, I've strayed from that just because that's, you can't often control your setting, and especially being on the road, like you don't have access to the same type of stuff at
Yeah.
home, so just not as much anymore. Just try and be healthy, and I guess drink a lot of water too. So
Are you that guy that's walking around with the gallon jug?
no,
No.
no,
Is there one in the locker room that does?
no, not with a
No,
gallon. No,
no gallon jug
there's
walking.
nothing wrong with that though.
No. It's just always funny seeing because my brother-in-law does it, and I always make fun
Yeah,
of him when he does it. It's just this giant thing. Like, what do you like? Just fill it
I
up again.
I used
But
to in JUCO because we ran so much.
yeah, especially down in Louisiana, the
Oh,
humidity is
what?
gonna kick your ass. Like
Hell
that's
yeah,
not the same. And then
yeah.
my favorite question to ask, and you get to be completely 100% selfish when you answer this. And I have a feeling where you're going. Um, All-time favorite baseball moment, peak
Mm.
performance, where you were like, "Yo, I was on top of the game."
It, it's it's easy, honestly. It's the JUCO World Series,
Yeah,
no doubt,
that was my guess. Yeah,
no doubt.
yeah,
That was just an incredible period of time, and like felt like a movie. Couldn't script it any better. Couldn't script the ending any better, and uh, that was that was something else.
it was something else. I love that, and I kind of figured you were going there, and then the whole team aspect of it, and
Yeah,
just doing that thing. So I think we learned a little about who is Ben Braymer uh, today. I just need you to go update that Twitter profile for me, and then we'll call it good.
absolutely. I'll do
Well,
that as soon as we hang up.
I,
Serious.
I love that. I'm going to take a screenshot so I have it on the records there.
Heck yeah.
Ben, thank you for hanging out. Thank you for doing this. You're one of our guys now, so we're going to be rooting for you. We'll put all the
Heck
vibes
yeah.
out there the best we can for you, and we're rooting for you to get back up in purple, get that taste again, and doing your thing. And the story's not over yet, so we got you.
Absolutely. I appreciate it, Aaron. And if I'm able to get up to Denver and put on the purple, it'd be the first time since I was at Eunice. So I
Yes,
still love purple. So,
there we go. Can't ever go wrong with purple. All
nah,
right, Ben.
never.
I appreciate you. Thanks, Ben.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Yep.